Hey everybody, this is Michelle Sizemore, Creative Memories Advisor. Today you'll learn how to make this easy layout using the Adventure Parks Scrapbook collection from Creative Memories. I also used red shimmer paper, blue shimmer paper, white shimmer paper. I used this card which comes from the Adventure Parks collection. Up here I used the Sunglasses Border Maker cartridge that goes with the Border Maker system. And I used the 12-inch trimmer. I always have my scissors handy because sometimes I need to clean things up with those. I used a pencil and I used a black pen. And also the photo trimmer and the repositionable tape runner. I think that's everything I used. Now I'm going to set all of that aside for the moment. And I'm going to show you kind of what sparked me to make this page. This is a layout from Creative Memories right here. It's a scrapbook layout. I'm going to move it up so you can see. If you want to jot down the measurements, you can pause the video and do that. But I did change it up a little bit. So this layout, it has a lot of space right here where the paper shows, which is fine. But I wanted to make my photos bigger and have less paper showing. So I just changed it up a little. So I'm going to show you my version. So this is my version. This is a sketch that I drew up, you know, inspired by this. I moved the border from down here to up here, and that's the sunglasses. And then the photos are bigger, and that's the main difference, really. So, and then I used a photo, a variety matte card from our collection instead of a combination of stickers. But you could also use a rectangle of paper and add some stickers. Okay, so let's get started. I'm gonna move this aside, and this shows all the stuff that I used. I've got this in a Power Project sleeve just to keep it together for this project, and it's open at the top and the side, and it's just a temporary holding place. And so I used some white cardstock. I've just got a couple of pieces here for some scraps. This is the card that I used from the Variety Matte Pack from Adventure Parks. I used blue shimmer paper. This is just a scrap of that. I used 2 pieces of this really fun paper from all of this is from Adventure Parks except for the solids. It comes separately. This yellow from Adventure Parks. Now these are just some scraps because I'm going to try to use up my scraps if I can. Red shimmer, blue shimmer, ruled paper, pretend photos, and white shimmer. Okay, so that's everything I use. So we're going to start with, I'm just going to do the left-hand page because they're kind of mirror images of each other, but then I'll show you the changes I did on the second page. So let me stack these together. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to stack those together and we're going to get started. So this will be my background page. I am going to mount this onto a scrapbook page when I'm done. I'll show you that at the end. But for creating it, we're just going to do it here because this is going to be my background. So the next piece of paper I need is this red. And this is the red. It's called Firecracker Shimmer. It's one of our shimmer papers. So I'm going to cut that page next. And this is going to be 7 inches wide. It's already 12 inches long. Okay. And I'm going to show you this again because this does show all the measurements on the sketch that I created. They're a little bit different than the original sketch I started with. If you need to jot down those measurements, you can, or you can always go back and rewind the video and pause and jot things down as you need. Okay, so I'm going to cut this to 7 inches wide, but I'm going to open up my arm. Make sure my little foot is flipped out so that this extension will lay flat and be even with the rest of the trimmer. And I'm going to line this up with the 7-inch mark which is right there. Make sure it's straight at the top along this little raised area and this little raised area so it's not slanted up there. And just press, kind of a gentle but slightly firm press down on this and move it up and cut. So this will be a scrap piece that you can use for something else, okay? So I'm going to mount this on top of this. So grab my repositionable tape runner, add about 3 dabs along that edge, about 4 on this edge, or 5. You don't want to go all the way down and use your tape runner all the way down, or you'll use this up so fast. You just need little dabs. And I'm going to put a few little dabs on the inside part. Okay, so we're going to mount this on the right hand side, making sure that it covers up all of the paper behind it, so none of it is showing past it. And if it's a little bit hard to do that, you can always snip a little bit off with your scissors, because sometimes it's hard to do it perfect. Okay. For some reason, this is easier for me to do than when I'm doing a video, because I'm trying to do it right and, you know, the spotlight's on. So there is a little bit that shows out the bottom. See, it comes out over here a little bit. So I'm going to come down just a little bit. And then if I have to snip some off, I will. But I don't want to have to do that. If I do, it will be just very, very little. Yeah, I'm going to have to just a little bit. You know what? Maybe I could do it like this from, yeah, kind of cool to do it from the back. Oh, come on. I never have to spend this much time doing it. It's just because I'm doing a video and, you know. Okay, this is as good as it's going to get. I'm going to have to cut just a tiny little sliver off right here, and that won't make any difference at all. Okay, so there's that. So I've got my decorative paper as my background. This is mounted here, so this yellow is going to go over on top of it. So the yellow, let me look at my measurements. It needs to be 2 1/4 inches, and of course 12 inches long. So I'm going to grab that yellow paper. I'm going to try to use up my scraps. And use my trimmer. I don't think, yeah, this one's not going to be wide enough. This one is. Now there's a fold in the middle of this, but it doesn't matter because that's going to be covered up. So I'm going to use this and try to use up my scraps. I'm going to line it up at 2 1/4 inches right there on that black line. Make sure it's straight at the top, straight all the way down, and cut. Okay, so now that's 2 1/4 inches. Now, you know, I was wrong. That fold is going to show, but I'm just going to go with it because this is just my demo, and you might barely even be able to see it anyway. So now I'm going to cut this piece of white cardstock, and it needs to be 1 1/4. So we're going to grab white cardstock. I'm going to try to find a scrap piece. This one is a scrap piece. I'm going to use this side. Well, this side is a little bit bent. So this has a decorative edge to it. So I'm going to just cut that off. Let me do this. Make sure my foot's out so it'll be straight. I'm going to line it up here. Now, I just want to cut this little sliver off in this little bent area. So I'm going to line it up just to the left of that bent area and just cut and get rid of that. So now I have a good clean edge. So I'm going to line the clean edge up with the 1 1/4 inch mark. Okay, so 1 1/4 inches straight all the way down and cut. And that should be Correct, yeah. So I'm going to set these extra pieces aside and save those for another project. Okay, so now I'm going to mount this on top of this. So I'm going to use my repositionable tape runner and just put some dabs on the back. And there's a good bit of that yellow showing on either side, so it gives it a nice pop of color, which I like. Now I'm going to cut my sunglasses. So that's that. So that'll go there. It's going to go up here. Now let's cut my sunglasses. So here's the border maker system. And I want to cut that with blue shimmer. You could also use blue cardstock instead of shimmer. It's up to you. I need to find that shimmer over here. Yeah, I have a whole piece. I don't really have a scrap of this. So I'm going to open up the tray to my border maker system, open up the magnetic arm. And I will say, I think the border maker system is probably my favorite tool. I mean, the trimmer, well, it's my favorite too, but it's just sort of a basic kind of must-have thing. But this is just so fun. I love that you can do so many decorative things with it. And because I use this a lot, I don't really have to use as many stickers. So I just use a lot of cardstock for the most part and shimmer paper. So you put this in here to where the metal pieces stick out, and you want your cardstock to go in right here. Or your paper, this is shimmer paper, and line your notches up right here, and everything then fits together underneath. Pull out barely and plop it back in place to where your notches match up. Pull it out a little bit, plop it in place to where your notches match up and punch. Do it again all the way down. So now I have my row of sunglasses, and I know this probably looks like trash to y'all, but I would save this. I have done so many things with these skinny little strips, like tying bows, using it like for a little line on a border, flower stems if it was green, ribbons, all kinds of things. So, you know, I save almost every scrap unless there's just nothing I can see that I can do with it. Now, I will say this. I look at these scraps. I don't really see much that I could do with those. Nothing just comes out in my mind. So I'm going to throw those away. Okay, so now I'm going to set this aside, and now we're going to mount the sunglasses on top of this white paper. I'm going to use a silicone mat. At the current time, I can't order these from Creative Memories. We were able to order them a while ago, but right now we don't have them. That's not to say that we never will, but you can get a silicone mat probably at any craft store. I even think like you can buy silicone mat for the kitchen and it would probably work. I've never tried, but I think they're the same thing. Now, I would look at this first and make sure there's nothing. Sometimes when I cut a border maker, you know, border, there's like some little stray pieces, but I don't see any problems with this one. Now, it's up to you. If you want this to be just like this, or if you don't like that it ends with partial sunglasses, you can do what I often do. And I'm going to cut those off. I'm going to use these micro scissors because they're so intricate and sharp, and they really work better for things like this. They're very easy to maneuver and to turn. So I'm going to cut off those partial sunglasses pieces, okay? But then I'm going to mount this. Well, in a minute, I'm going to position. So I'm going to actually cut one more little piece of sunglasses to add on to this so it really looks complete and not chopped off. So I really probably only need to punch one. If you just want to punch one or two, well, no, actually for this one, I am going to need to punch two. There is a reason because of the way this comes out. I forgot. So I'm going to put this back in my border maker system and punch just a few so I can make sure I have one good little piece of, one good little sunglasses to add on there, or two at the most. I'm just going to punch the whole thing because then I can use it later on a card or something. Once you get the hang of the border maker system, it's really quick and easy to use. Okay, again, I'm going to save that over here and throw this stuff away. I'm just going to pick this up and shake it off. I keep like a rectangle bin down here with a big opening at the top where I can just shake things off. Stuff sticks to this, so you kind of have to shake it off too. So some of it ended up on the floor, but I'll clean it up. Okay, so now I'm going to set this aside because I don't need it anymore for this project. And now I'm going to put my repositionable tape runner on the back of these sunglasses. Very important to use your repositionable on this because it comes out in clear dots. And if you use it on a silicone mat, it's only going to stick. Sorry about that noise. My computer keeps making that noise. It's only going to stick to where it needs to stick on your border. And then the excess is going to stay in here because I'm using a silicone mat which repels it. That's why it works so well for scrapbooking with this tape runner and borders like this, to use a silicone mat. Now I'm going to be quite generous with this because I want to make sure I get all the little pieces so that it'll literally go on like a sticker. And so you can see the adhesive doesn't show through the other side. You might see a few little clear dots, but you can just rub those off. But they're so clear and transparent that you can barely see them. So now I'm going to mount this on here and just gently press down as I go. Okay, and then I'm going to gently rub it to get rid of any little transparent dots there are. Okay, and then the reason I cut this extra one, I want to add on to make it look finished. So I'm going to get this one right here, kind of the more rounded, fatter sunglasses, not the pointier tops, because that's kind of how it would land on the border. They alternate. If you get a little pointy edge, just kind of take those scissors and round it. Now I'm going to mount that here. And then instead of having two unfinished ones at the ends, it's going to be finished. You just have to overlap it a little bit more on the previous one than the others. And then there you go. Well, there we go. Okay, so I like that so much better than it just ending with a half pair of sunglasses. So, all right, throw my trash away. I will save this for a card or a little border. I always save my scraps. Always, unless they're too small or you just can't think of anything to do with them. All right, so that's how I did that border. So I'm going to put my repositionable tape runner on the back. Just some little dabs. You don't need a ton. And then we're going to mount this on the top. And I kind of want to mount it all the way at the top so that all you see at the top is the yellow. I need to come over just a little bit. And then gently press it down. Make sure that adhesive sticks really well. And I'm very happy with that. So we've done the background part. Now, just to show you how to do the rest. So I just used 4x6 photos here. But then because I wanted to place this card here, this photo needed to be just a little bit smaller. So bear with me just a second. Yeah, so here's a pretend 4x6 photo. So that's how it would come, you know, when you order your photos. But I want it to be 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to grab my photo trimmer, lift this up. Please know this is very, very, very sharp. So I want you to be very, very careful with this because I don't want to ever hear about a emergency room visit because of scrapbooking. That's the last thing I want to hear. So just be careful with that, okay? Because it's sharp. So I'm going to cut this pretend photo to, what did I say? 4 by 5 1/2. So it's already 4 inches this way. I'm going to lift this up, put my photo underneath this clear thing right here and line that up at 5.5 inches right there. Make sure it's straight at the top. Press your finger down on the clear part, but please make sure you don't press it over here where the blade's going to come down, because that could be a disaster. So just put it right here on the clear part to make sure it stays straight. Make sure it's straight at the top and come down and cut. So now you're going to have your photo that is the size you need. My goodness, I keep looking at the wrong thing. Here we go. Let's do this. So it will go here, here. And I'm going to write that on there that it's 4 by 5.5. And then I need to cut my mat to go behind it. I chose to use blue shimmer paper on the mat, and I'm going to cut it 1/4 inch bigger just on 2 sides. So I'm going to take my blue shimmer paper, and if the picture is 4 by 5.5, I'm going to cut my mat 4 1/4 by 5 3/4. Okay, so 4 1/4 is right there on my. I love the grid lines on this trimmer. They are so good, easy to see. And I'm going to cut that to 4 1/4. Now this trimmer ends at 5.5 on the base, so I'm going to open this to give me some more space to measure on. Make sure my little foot is popped out. Then I'm going to line this up to 5 3/4, which is right there, so it comes out slightly on the extension. Make sure it's straight at the top and cut. And this should be the right size. Again, sorry about that noise. I think I need to just close that computer. Okay, so this should be the right size to map my photo, and it is. So I would put some repositionable tape runner on the back, a dab at every corner, and then a few extra dabs. And then, so I like a skinny mat like this. If you prefer a fatter mat, it's just a preference. You know, you can cut your mat a little bit bigger. It's up to you. So that is how I would do my photos and mat them. Since these other photos are 4 by 6s, I would just I don't have to trim the photo. And then I would just cut the mat 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 on those two. And then I would add this little card, which I need to find in the midst of all of my stuff. I know I had it. I just have a lot here. Yep, there it is. Okay. Right here. So, with this, I drew a pencil line where I wanted to cut it. So, I'm going to use it on my trimmer. I'm going to put that pencil line, just, I say this all the time, so I know I'm redundant, but your blade always comes down on the left-hand side dotted line right here, okay? So this pencil line needs to be lined up with that left-hand side dotted line right there. Just line it up, and then make sure it's straight at the top and cut. So now I have my smaller piece that I want to put right here. And then I would put my 4 by 6 photos that are matted with white shimmer here to end up looking like this, okay? I'm not going to mount all that because I do want to save this paper for another project. So then you would do the other side the same way, but it's just a mirror image, except I moved this photo up here, I cut a piece of white ruled paper, which we have at Creative Memories. I love our white ruled paper. Well, we have different colors too. We have Spargo, and I think we still have we might only have white now. We have had Spargo and natural in the past. So this is a scrap of it. I am going to, I don't remember how big I cut this, so I'm just going to draw pencil lines where I cut it. And, well, I do know because of my sketch. On my sketch, I wrote that the ruled paper is 4 inches by 3¼ inches. Okay, so I really didn't have to draw those lines for y'all. I could have just read my instructions. So we're going to line this up at the 4-inch mark right here. Well, let's see. 4 inches, yeah. 4 inches, and cut that, and then it's supposed to be 3 1/4 inches. So line that up at the, gosh, I'm doing the wrong side. Line that up at the 3 1/4 inch mark. Now, my pencil line is on the bottom now, but that's okay because you can still match it up with your dotted line from the bottom. Make sure it's straight at the top and cut. So now you have your piece of ruled paper for right here. And then you just cut your mat out of blue shimmer, and you will cut that the same way you cut this, but it's going to be slightly bigger. So it'll be 4 1/4 by 3 1/2, because again, I like a skinny mat, so it's just 1/4 inch different on 2 sides. So then I would mount this on the blue piece of paper that I cut, just like I did with the photo demonstration, and that would go there. And then you would end up with this 2-page layout. So now I'm going to show you 2 ways you could put this in your book when you're done. Now, I know a lot of you probably, there are people that use all kinds of albums. I'll show you why I do love Creative Memories albums most of all. This is one of the many reasons why I fell in love with Creative Memories to start with. But then, you know, and I've been doing this 29 years, so a long time. So when you open up your album, it is designed for our pages to lie flat, which makes it look just beautiful and seamless. Now I need to tighten my straps up a little. So I'm going to leave this out. It's just a little bit shifty on me, which just means I need to tighten it. I'm going to pull it tight and pull it through. Pull it tight and give it a good tug. Okay. So I love how when you open up our albums, they lay flat. Okay. It's just a pretty look. So this is a page I just did, which is very similar to this, except I moved things around, but I did start with the same sketch. Now this one I put in a top loading page. So you can take your scrapbook page that you made, and you could scrapbook on both sides if you want to, or you could put 2 pages back to back. And I put this one inside the top loading page. So that's one way to do it. With this one, I'm going to show you how I would just mount it onto a scrapbook page. So this is the left-hand side, right-hand side. I do want to move this border over slightly because I see a little smidge of red sticking out over here, which just bugs me a little. I could trim it a little or just try to reposition, which works. Now this is a pencil line, it's not paper, so I can just erase that. I'm finding that I keep bending this, so I'm gonna add a little more tape runner right there. Okay, so I'm just gonna take this and actually mount it onto my page. So I'm gonna add 3 or 4 dabs of tape runner, repositionable, on every side, and several in the middle. And then I would mount that down here. You want to line it up. This is called your jeeping. It's a reinforced edge that just gives you stability and a finish. You want to line your page up just to the edge of that jeeping, and then match it at the top and the bottom. So I'm going to line it up at the edges and match it at the top and bottom. Okay, and then I'm just going to gently rub it to make it stick. I'm going to erase that pencil line because to me it looks like something's sticking out. Now I do see that I can see that white edge up there a little bit, so I'm going to work on this just a little. Move it up. Line it up. Okay. All right. And press everything to make it stick. And then I would mount the same one over here, this one over here the same way. So then it would look like this. And then to put your, I forgot to get a protector out, but to put your protector on, we have clear protectors. And I would add more tape runner. I mean, I would really press this down and make it stick. Maybe add a little bit more tape runner. But you can, the page protectors are closed on the top and the bottom, and they're open on these two sides. So you would just slide it on this way. Okay? So that's two different ways you can put your pages in your albums. You can use our regular pages or our top loading pages. Okay, thank you for watching that video. And I hope you all have a really great day, and I hope you learned a few new things, or at least learned an easy way to make a scrapbook page from a sketch. Thank you. Bye.